Hello, good day everybody. That's Markus Hartmann. I'm the president of the James Bond Club Switzerland. Today we have a very special day. We're celebrating 26 years of our club and we're celebrating that in true style with a special Bond cruise. But more about that later. Today we want to welcome our very special guests, two very lovely ladies that you know for sure. It's Martine Beswick and Munro. Thank you, enjoy. So we are here with our very first special guest. Welcome, Martine.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here.
We are so glad that you're here. Welcome a lot. Before we start, I mean, you can remember a couple of weeks when we talked, even months ago, we talked about this idea. What would you think to come to Switzerland for an event with James Bond Club Switzerland? And you were all in. Especially, I asked you, what was your reaction when I asked you, what do you think if Caroline would come with you?
Oh, Bliss, my sister, of course, of course. I mean, in fact, we don't like being separated. We like being together.
That's great, because I got the same reaction from Caroline. She said, Martine is one of my best friends and sisters, so that makes all totally sense, and we're so happy you're here with us.
Absolutely.
You remember we wanted to invite you for our Jubilee last year. It didn't work out, so we're more than happy that it worked out this time. So, talking about Martine Caroline combination, I know you're best friends now, your sisters in life. Was there a time in the past where you maybe were also competitors? You know, where it was casting for a new movie?
We didn't know each other.
You didn't know each other?
So we didn't have to worry about competing.
Okay.
I mean, we probably were competing, but we had no idea.
I think indirectly there was one case, if it's right, that Caroline was offered the role of Sister Hyde and Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde, which Caroline eventually turned down. But then eventually the role went to you. So there was maybe an indirect competition, or you were maybe not even aware that Caroline was...
No, I don't think... No, we weren't. We weren't aware
I didn't know that, yeah, but it was offered to Caroline.
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, many years later, just to got the reunion together, for House of Gordon, you came actually out, I'm just jumping ahead and back. You came out of your retirement after 24 years for this. So what was the experience to work together with all your old friends, with Veronica Carlson, Caroline Munro, and Christopher Niem? That's the movie, if you remember that one.
That's the movie.
That's the one.
A joy to work on.
Was that the first movie you worked together?
Yes.
Yeah, it was?
Yes, yes,
okay.
yes. We were so excited. First of all, we love Joshua Kennedy. Is like our dearest friend. I met him when he was 19, and he's been doing so many films. I mean, he doesn't stop. He's doing like 2 or 3 right now.
Wow.
He does not stop. And putting us all together like that was one of the great joys. I mean, we were literally attached. We could not be apart, even when we were shooting. If one was shooting and the others weren't, we were all there. All there. We could not be apart. It was one of the most loveliest, sweetest shoots, really. I mean, you know, and it was no money at all. But he shipped us out to Texas and took great care of us, and we had a fantastic time. And of course, Caroline and I being absolutely horrible women. Loving it.
Difficult to imagine. I have to go back for a second to our today's special Bond cruise, because in the preparation of it, we were discussing a lot for a suitable event title. You don't think how much time we put into stuff like that. We wanted to have a mix of, you know, FEUERBALL, The Spy Who Loved Me, we have a boat, we have a lake, we have Lady Bond. How can we take that for... So we had a lot of suggestions, like something was, one of among them was Bondgirls Are Forever. But, as you know, that one has been already taken by former Bond girl Marianne Dabo for the book. And also, Morten Steingrim's event in Oslo, 2015, where you were also present.
Yes.
I'm sure you remember that one well.
Yes, it was fantastic, yeah.
So we couldn't take that. We were thinking about Boat Trip, but that's another movie with Sir Roger Moore that's a bit special. So we finally set it on Bond Cruise, which I think it's like
I like
a general.
That very
you
much.
like that one?
Oh God, yes,
okay.
yes.
And
yes.
I have a question regarding that Bond Cruise. Is it still appropriate today to call you Bondgirls?
Absolutely.
Because there are always people say, no, you should call them Bond ladies. They say, I'm sure you're...
such rubbish. I mean, really, get a grip. I love being called a Bond girl. In fact, I am a Bond girl, end of story.
Perfect.
I mean, I do not need to be a Bond woman. I do not need to have that kind of label in order to recognize who I am, my strength, my uniqueness. I am a Bond girl, end of story. That's
Perfect.
it. That's how I feel about it. So there.
I take that as a bridge because I think you have a very soft touch for Terence Young, no? Who cast you twice. First time as the gypsy girl Zora in From Russia with Love and Paula Kaplan in FEUERBALL. And there's some similarities. In Russia with Love, you had this cat fight scene with your rival Vida, no? Played by former Miss Israel Alisa Gore. But as I heard, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that was not only acting, that was real fighting.
Well, not really, because we did rehearse for 3 weeks.
Yes,
you know, and it had to be pretty precise because Terence wanted to come in handheld cameras so that he could really get a feel. And it was a fantastic fight. I mean, it was really beautifully directed. And he really wanted that. So we couldn't really go off course. However, there were moments because they were kind of pushing me to be naughty and get her. And then every now and again, there would be a little accent. She'd go, oh, she'd go, oh, I'm hurt. And I would go.
Well.
But basically we had to keep to the choreography. We really did. And she, you know, when I talk about her, it's what it is that all the people that I've worked with and all the people that I know, I mean, like Caroline's my sister. I mean, they're sisters. Unfortunately, Alisa was never a sister. That's the difference. It wasn't that I hated her or any of that stuff. It's just that we didn't have the connection. And so she was never a sister. That's really what it is. But most everybody else have been sisters.
Perfect.
You know.
Because a few years after From Russia with Love, you were involved in another cat fight. You remember which one I'm talking about?
Million Years BC?
Exactly, with Rachel Welch. Yeah, Eine Million Jahre für unsere Zeit. That's a German title. It's quite appropriate. How was that in comparison?
That again, I mean, actually, we didn't do a lot of rehearsing on that one. As a matter of fact, when the day came to do it, we were sitting in our chairs, Raquel and I, next to each other, waiting to see the doubles that were going to be doing the fight. And we just sat there, and we looked at each other. And they brought out these two people, and they didn't look I mean, they were not our doubles. And we just sat there and we just turned to each other and went, no way. No way. And we really pushed them. I said, no, we can do this. We can do this. First of all, both of us were dancers. I mean, not professional, but we love to dance. So we were able to move very well. And they said, no, but it's the insurance. And we pushed them, and we got it. And it was a terrific fight. I mean, we really went for it. It was great. It was really great.
It was really beautiful choreographed, also for that time. I loved it.
Yeah.
You also were starring in many television series. I have among some of my favorite ones, like Heart to Heart, The $6 Million Man, The Fall Guy, both with Lee Majors.
Yeah.
Fall Guy in German, the German-speaking people know that series better for, I don't know if you have ever heard about the German name, Ein Colt für alle Fälle, like a pistol for every case.
Oh.
That was the German version of Fall Guy.
A pistol for every case.
Yeah, that's a German version with Lee Majors. And I was wondering, your character name was Countess Witt in one of the Fall Guy series I read.
Countess Witt.
Is that maybe where you got your surname? Yesterday we were talking that everybody knows you are a countess.
Oh, no, this goes way back.
Way back? Okay.
Oh, this goes way back. I mean, this goes... Yeah, I mean, I don't know, people, I mean, literally somebody would just say, oh, you're such a duchess. I mean, and literally, and then they started calling me Duchess.
Countess,
And that was,
Duchess,
and so there was it literally was. Then there was, then we formed a duchy, a bunch of my friends. We were all living together on this fantastic ranch, and we formed a duchy. And I was the Duchess, and my best friend was the Duke, and then there was the Earl. Then we had a whole duchy, and that went on. That's gone on for 30 years. And then Ken Forey decided that I was the Grand Duchess. I mean, so it's, I don't know why this has happened. Obviously, I could have been a Duchess in the last life, who knows?
Okay, perfect. So you were jumping in between movies, television series. Were there any particular regrets? I read somewhere that you were regretting you didn't get your own television series.
Yeah, because I did the pilot for oh God, what's his name? Anyway, I did a pilot, and it had fantastic reviews, and everybody was after me, and it was all wonderful. Then they were going to go into the series, and they decided, and I think it had to do with the fact that I was, basically, their excuse was that I was too sophisticated for American audiences.
Oh, gosh.
Well, of course, because we had a relationship with the actor, and I were like really, we were really cooking, you know, and they were not keen. So they got a nice little bubbly blonde girl who was going to be no threat. There was going to be no hanky-panky, no possibility of hanky-panky. So that is what happened. So, I mean, and the director, the producer, Sterling Sullivan, who had already won Academy Awards, really tried to get me, really tried to fight for me, and the studio wouldn't have it. Too sophisticated. And he said, I cannot believe they're saying too sophisticated for American audiences. What is that?
That's crazy. Okay, I think I have time for 2 more questions, because the time is always crucial and running.
Yes.
But I know you have been on many conventions the last year, also together with Caroline. And I'm wondering, because let's face it, there's a lot of nice people, but there's also some weirdos there, some strange people. Have you ever received some special requests, like signing on a chest or something that you would say, no, I'm not going to do that? Or are you open to any? There must be some special people there.
Well, there was one that was actually really a bit of a problem, because he decided that I was the one he was going to marry and fall in love. Now, I mean, this is someone that I wouldn't even consider to be a friend, much less anything else. And it was actually quite bad. It was actually quite bad, because he would just come up to the table and just start talking, like, at me, and how much, and as a matter of fact, Caroline saved me at one point. I mean, everyone was trying to protect me, because it went on for years.
So it's a bit of stalking, actually, no?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. It was really, and he was a poor thing.
Not too bad. You can relax on that, because tonight we only have nice people, good people, all happy to see you both, and we'll have a nice evening. And so I'm looking forward to that. Thanks so much for being with us, Martine.
Oh, I can't tell you, I am so thrilled to be here. I really am.
We are.
Yeah, I love it.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
See you in a bit.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Hello, Caroline. Here we are again, finally.
Finalmente, we're here, aren't we?
It's so great to have you back.
It's
Welcome.
so lovely to be back, and in beautiful Lake Lucerne. How lucky are we? And the weather smiles on us, Marcus, today.
With all the good reasons. I mean, we do own you so much. You were our first official Bond guest back in 2013, became our dear honorary patron, and we're so happy that you could make it to be back with us. And we have a lot ahead, so take the most of it. I promised the guys that we stick to the Bond question more on the boat.
That's
but
fine.
Still, you can't do an interview with Caroline without mentioning something about Bond. Well, we won't talk about your famous character of Naomi yet, but it's interesting maybe to see for people who are not aware of all your movies. There might be a few ones, not many, you had a few previous Bond connections before you did actually The Spy Who Loved Me.
I actually did, yes.
And maybe you know what I want to talk about. I'm talking first of all about Dracula AD 1972. British horror movie directed by Alan Gibson, produced by the famous Hammer movie productions. And you had a very special encounter with Count Christopher Lee as Dracula, and your part was Laura Bellows. Maybe just brief that very special scene. You want to tell about your experience in the church when you met?
Oh my goodness!
Christopher.
You've certainly done your research, haven't you? You certainly have, and of course Christopher Lee, Scaramanga in Man
Exactly,
with the Golden
that's-
Gun. That was
yes.
your connection. I
That
bet
would-
that's what
yeah,
you were going to ask
exactly.
me. I'm sorry. I've
No,
jumped
all
ahead.
good. You go ahead. Yeah.
Too much coffee. Sorry.
That-
Yeah, my encounter with Christopher Lee, we'd met beforehand. Obviously, we got to know each other a bit, and I'd be sitting and doing my knitting before he became Dracula, before he changed into Dracula. So I said to the director, I said to Alan, I actually don't want to see him before he comes on. I want to feel how I feel when I actually see Dracula, when I encounter Dracula. So he said, all right then. Alan said, all right, if you don't want to see him, we don't have to rehearse it too much. I said, I'd prefer not to, for me personally.
Yeah.
So I didn't see him until I did see him. And when I did see him, I was kind of, my breath was taken away because Christopher came as the Dracula character. And he's so tall, he's 6'4", so he came along and he had the blood red eyes and the cape and the white face. And he came towards me and I totally became Laura Bellows. I totally became that hedonistic girl in the film. So for me, that was a fabulous moment, and I think Christopher helped me greatly because of his appearance and because I became the person. I think it worked quite well in the scene. I felt I was that for that split second in time. And then we had a little strange encounter with Christopher Neame, who was the character Johnny Alucard, who was my friend, supposedly, in the altar scene, if anybody's seen it. And then apparently the curtains, we were in Pinewood, and it was all blocked off. We were in a big sound stage and everything was blocked off. And apparently the big curtains way above, right in the tall building, in the tall where we were filming, started to move as Christopher Neame was chanting. He was chanting the chant. He was chanting the devil's chant, basically. And supposedly they did, because the crew came, when we'd finished the scene, the crew came over and they said, did you see what we saw? Because there was no draft, nothing in the room. And they all saw it. They saw the curtains move as Christopher Neame chanted. So yes, that was my encounter with Christopher Lee, and I loved doing that film.
Great, and as you said before, a few years later became the famous Scaramanga, the villain in the Bond movie, The Man with the Golden Gun.
Brilliant in that.
I must admit, I've seen Dracula a couple of weeks ago, and still, so many years ago, it was still terrifying to look at the scene and say, oh no, dear Caroline, how could you?
No.
But that was quite special. We had another Bond connection, you had another Bond connection in the 1967 Bond spoof Casino Royale, directed by, I think, not less than 5 directors, which was quite special. And many people, I didn't know that before you had a small part, if I may say, as a guard.
I was a guard.
I have a picture of you, if I can just show the for camera.
I will.
Just
it's me.
That I found.
100 years ago, I was the guard girl.
You were the guard.
I'll give it back to
Thank you.
I was one of many guard girls in that, so I was an extra. But strangely enough, Paco Rabanne had designed the clothes, the costumes.
Okay.
So fantastic designer, and for some reason, Paco Rabanne and Julie Harris, the costume designer, chose me to be the one that was photographed a lot in the Paco Rabanne clothes. So I think that's how people thought I had a part. I was actually in the very back of the lineup with the of the Girls, but I was there.
You were there, yeah.
I was there, and I asked my director, who was Val Guest, if I could actually watch the other girls. There were lots of them. Said, "Oh, they're shooting The Dirty Dozen, and Charles Bronson's there, and this, that, and the other. We'll go and watch." And he said, "That's fine." And I said, "Excuse me, Mr. Guest." I was only 16. I said, "Do you mind if I actually just sit on the side and watch?" Because I knew Woody Allen was coming up. So I thought, if I can just sit on the set and watch him work, which he let me do. He said, "You have to keep very quiet." I said, "I will." So I just sat there like a little mouse, and I watched these amazing people at work. So yes, that was my first encounter with Bond.
I like to see that as a good omen for your next big career move in a Bond movie, Spy Who Loved Me, we'll talk about later. But in between, of course, you have done so many things. You were the Face of the Year, 1966, and cover girl for fashion and TV. And you have been known by so many names. The First Lady of Fantasy, you were the Warrior of Love, and of course, the Bond girl Naomi. And is there still something which sticks with you all those years later that you say, "Oh, that's a good one," or "I rather wouldn't hear about that title anymore"? Or
do you know what?
You embrace all of them still.
I feel so fortunate, and I had not chosen that path at all. I thought I was going to do something to do with fashion or design or window dressing, something. But the school closed. I was 16. The school closed down, and I had nothing to do. So there was a photographer at the art school that I attended, and he said, "Could I take some pictures of you?" I said, "Oh, that's fine," for his portfolio. So I did the pictures, and he said to my mother, he said, "Can I send the pictures off to a competition in the newspaper?" So competition was by David Bailey. So it won the competition, the photograph. So.
The Evening News,
It's
Face of the Year.
Yeah. That's right. And so I worked with Bailey quite a lot.
Okay.
So yeah, I think I've just been so fortunate to work with the people that I've worked with. You know, I had no plan. You know, I didn't particularly choose to do acting. It more chose me, and it has become my passion. You know, I love it. I love the whole, the process of film and the whole, everything about it, really. I love it.
A lot of variety, and I was very impressed to find you also. I just jump ahead. I still want to talk about, depending on time, about your movies. I like to do just a little game, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
My English may be not perfect, but I think you might recognize the words. I'm just saying a few words, and I'm curious if you know what I'm talking about.
Golly, okay.
So here we go. No one's gonna tell me what's wrong and what's right, or tell me who to eat with, sleep with, or that I've won the big fight. Does that already sound a bell? I go on.
Goody Two Shoes.
Yeah!
Yay!
That's the one.
Adamant.
I have the whole lyrics, but you got it
so
right away.
Clever. No one's going to eat. Yes.
I mean, that was in the 80s, and a child of the 80s, and Goody Two Shoes. I can't sing. I won't spoil the movie, but I love the music of Adamant, and to find we have seen it at home a couple of days ago. And
Did you? It's
it was
fun,
so much fun. And
again, very impromptu. He was so clever. He's a great musician, but also he was a fantastic artist, and he'd do a storyboard and say, "This is what I want." He had a director, Mike Mansfield, but he storyboarded it, and he knew exactly what he wanted, and he luckily chose me to be the lady in that. So very lucky.
As an audience, if you see it for the first, second time, it looks like you had fun shooting it. Yeah,
and
that's
the
not
end
just
bit,
impression.
Oh, we didn't rehearse the end bit. You know, where she goes a bit. My character who's very prim and proper with the glasses and the hair, and then she lets her hair down, and we just did the dancing along, and it was
quite reserved in the first part, and then you're losing it up.
Yes.
Okay, that would have been one for Martine as well as.
Is she there? There she is. There's my sister. She's sitting over there.
And you did another few, the singing career. You were Meatloaf, If You Really Want To.
Yeah, If You Really Want.
Yeah, that was a year later.
I played a vampire in that. That was fabulous because I got to.
Quite scary, a whole story. It wasn't just a music video, no?
It was. He was lovely to work with. I found him. Again, he was very sensitive and very clever. and wonderful, wonderful singer and musician, and very sweet. I saw him actually about 4 years ago at a convention in London, and we had a long chat about everything, and he's just, I was very sad he's gone. So sad, he's passed.
I always wanted to meet him, and it was
Fantastic.
postponed the convention. I want to go in July, and now unfortunately won't happen again. Yeah.
No. He's left his mark, and his legacy is his music.
The music is fantastic.
And his personality. He was very sweet, very sweet, very intelligent, and we had such fun doing that. My husband did the special effects on that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He did, all the fire and the coffin and everything. Yeah, and it had those big old teeth in, the vampire teeth and the red eyes. So
okay.
Quite interesting.
Oh, cool. Jumping back a couple of years, always crucial with the timeline and the time itself. But I know you have also had a soft spot for a special actor. You worked with many really great actors. Vincent Price. I'm talking about this movie that I'm sure you will remember.
Yes.
Show just for a second. And I love this. That was your picture now that you followed up. And I love the title, the overtitle for the film. Love means never having to say you're ugly. I mean, you can use it. Isn't that fantastic?
It's very clever.
That's so
very,
clever.
very clever.
When I was reading it, I said, that's perfect.
It is. It was a
that's real love.
It's real love, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, but it's beautiful.
I think love kind of is like that. Maybe,
maybe, yeah. Take the adventures, good things and bad things.
Exactly, you have to do that in life, don't you?
You didn't have to talk a lot, but still it was a wonderful experience.
I had no dialogue at all. I just had to not breathe, which was the hardest thing, because I was his dead wife, so he was trying to take me with him to the river of life and try and restore me back to normal. But I was in it the whole time. I had a contract with Hammer, with Michael Carreras, and they only let me out to do it because I had no credit in that. I said, I don't care, I don't need to be credited, I don't really need to be paid, I just want to work with Vincent. So they let me out to do it, they let me off the contract to do that. I have no credit, but I was paid a little bit. And to work with him and Vincent, to come in early in the morning to the makeup girls and me, about 6 o'clock in the morning. He was a fantastic chef, and he'd bring in this beautiful pâté that he prepared the night before to bring into the ladies, the makeup and hair, and me,
thoughtful.
and him. And they had a toaster there, and so he'd do the toast, and we'd have pâté, and then I'd go and lie in the coffin next to him. He was just wonderful to watch, to hear him talk, beautiful voice, and the characterization he put into Fibes was unbelievable. Just to be around these people, I'm like a little sponge. I feel like to watch these, the Woody Allens and the Vincent Prices and the Christopher Lees and Roger, to watch these people is, to watch kind of experts at work. And because I had no training, I didn't go to drama school.
You're learning from the best.
I learned. I sponged. I look at them and I think, I see how they do it. And I remember, actually, one of my very first films, which was called A Talent for Loving, I had the amazing Richard Widmark to work with. He played my father. I was a Mexican-American girl, and Topol was in that. And I remember Richard Widmark came over to me during a break, and he said, Caroline, he said, when the close-up is on, he said, you just don't do anything. Just stand. When the close-up is there, just take everything in, don't, because you're moving all over the place. He said, just absorb it. And he said, and then you'll be in the character. So I thought that was really good. I was only 18, but it was a good bit of advice, I think.
Great.
Yeah.
I know that we're running out of time,
We
but I just want to, I found a third Bond connection. I have to throw in
A third one?
Star Crash, 78, with David Hasselhoff, Christopher Plummer.
Yeah.
And I found out the music composer was nobody else than John Barry.
John Barry?
Yes.
Listen.
I didn't know that. That's great, no?
I think every bit, yes, that was directed by Luigi Cozzi, or Luis Coates, as he was called. And of course we had Christopher Plummer for one day, on that film. I think the budget was maybe blown on having John Barry do the score, but the score is beautiful. I mean, it really added to the film, I think. And it was an amazing film to make, all in Italy. We had a brilliant time making it. And
I saw it 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
it is very funny,
nice,
isn't it?
yeah.
It's quite a bizarre film.
It's a bit like
It's
from
like
Star Wars.
Star Wars
at
and
that time was
Barbarella.
it? Yeah,
It's sort of
Barbarella, Jane
Barbarella.
Fonda. Yes.
And you know, we did our own stunts, and he put everything. You know, I did a lot of karate, and we had a stunt man there. And then they brought me back. He said, "We like that. Brought me back after Christmas to Italy again." He said, "We want to do a bit more of that." So we did. But I hurt the stuntman's nose. I actually, because they said, Luigi said, "Right." He said, "Okay, Caroline." Now. He said, "Caroline, are you ready to shoot the film?" I said, "Yes, I'm fine. I'm ready." And he said, "Right, you Stellar Star." He said, "As soon as the baddie comes at you, you fight. You go." I said, "Okay, Luigi, I'll go." So he said, "Okay, motove, azione." And I went and I bopped him right in the nose. The poor stuntman, Fred. And his nose started to bleed. And I was not in character then. I started to cry.
Oh, no.
Stellar Star cries because I'd hurt the stuntman. And the stuntman said, "You're quick." I said, I was told to be quick. Anyway, we did it, but a fantastic time.
Funny. Stellar Star, yeah,
Stellar Star.
another famous name. You got the lead in that one. That's
I did.
great.
Quite fun.
I got to wrap it at the moment. I have many more questions I'd like to ask. I hope we can drop in 1, 2 in the boat later on.
Maybe, I hope so. Hope everybody's there on the boat.
Because I'm afraid, like, just before I finish, I take advantage. Our event manager is not here to give me the crucial timeline.
Oh, yes.
So we keep on, just 1 minute more and we're done. You have been to so many interviews and talks and conventions, and you meet people, and I can imagine that some of the questions also from mine are quite similar. Or you go, I know, here she comes, but
Here
we
she
are
comes,
wrapping up in
there's
a
our
moment.
Natalie.
Let me finish the question.
Yeah. Go.
Is there a question that you say like, "Oh gosh, here we go again"? I mean, the obvious question is like, how was it working with Sir Roger Moore?
Yes.
I think that's one of the most. That's why I didn't ask that. I might ask that later on. But is there a
fine.
question that you say, "Oh gosh, okay, here we go again"? Or you
Do you know what?
all is good?
I think Ali's good because I think that it doesn't really matter as long as you can make it fresh in your head. You know, I think, yes, I have been asked what's it like to work with Roger. And sometimes it's sort of not a set reply, but I can only say wonderful things because he was amazing to work with. But I try and change it up for me. You know, I try and think, okay, let's try and think of something, you know, slightly different to say so it's not boring for the people because maybe they have heard it before.
Yeah, but a lot
yours
haven't.
have been good, though. You've caught me
I
on the
tried to do
hop.
some homework. Yeah.
You've done a lot of homework. My goodness, you really have.
Indeed. And I wanted to talk about the Golden Voyage of Sinbad. I wanted to talk
Sinbad.
of your dear friend Ray Harryhausen. We're running out of time. Maybe we can drop that in, because I know you have a soft spot for that.
I have such a soft spot, as does Martine. We have such a soft spot for Ray. I mean, he became such a good friend. I think, I don't know how I did come to do it because I did a film called Captain Cronus. Brian Clements was the director on that. He also wrote the screenplay of The Golden Voyage of Sinbad. And Ray Harryhausen and Charles Schneer were wanting a big American name. They wanted Racco Welsh. You know, they said, yes, she's perfect. And then Brian came forward. He said, no, I think you look at this girl. She's completely unknown. So just take a look and see if she could be your Mariana. And they looked, and I got chosen. I expect I was cheap, but you know what I mean. I got chosen, so, and the rest is history. He was amazing. I mean, the godfather of special effects for me. Perfect. And a dear friend. And Vanessa Harryhausen was out at our convention the other week, which we did for cancer charity, Maggie's, and she was there giving of herself, giving of her time. So it was amazing. We're still totally wonderful friends. So yes, we both, Martine and I, had an amazing experience.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry that I have to cut, but
I'm so
do you have
sorry.
any last words you want to say for the members of James Bond Club Switzerland? Or
I just want to say thank you so much, all you wonderful members of the James Bond Switzerland, and truly nobody does it better than you. Take care, and thank you, Markus.
Thank you, Caroline. All right, that was it already. I hope you enjoyed our little small talk as much as we did. I certainly did. Thanks again to our wonderful guests, Martine and Caroline. Thanks for being with us. See you soon. Take good care. Bye-bye.